Most of my video footage is recorded using the GNOME desktop environment, and I have said on some occasions that I really love GNOME. This has led some people to ask why. Isn't KDE Plasma the best one overall? With its more mature HDR and variable refresh rate support, its countless features and options, its huge customization possibilities and constant feature development? It sounds like a no-brainer, right? Well, I can say it is certainly not for me, and let me tell you why. I'm Oscar, the SuperUser, and today I wanted to share why I generally prefer the GNOME desktop environment over KDE Plasma. Perhaps my thoughts will help some of you who are also struggling with deciding over one or the other. Now, first off, I do love KDE Plasma as well. It's a fantastic desktop and also a joy to use, but GNOME wins by a slight margin for me. To begin with, and to clarify, a desktop environment is the desktop interface you see and interact with when operating your Linux computer. You could have Fedora, Debian, Arch, or CachyOS, but all these systems can look different because the user chose a certain desktop environment. Fedora Workstation comes with GNOME by default, but if you decide to install Fedora KDE, well, then you have the KDE desktop. They are essentially the same distribution, but with a different coat of paint. Linux Mint provides the Cinnamon desktop by default, which is an entirely different one to GNOME or KDE Plasma, but you could also install the XFCE version for different features and appearance, or for a lighter resource use as well. Now, this all ties in beautifully to prove how customizable Linux is and how you can tailor your computer for your exact needs and preferences. Now, talking about preferences, let's discuss the main topic of the video and start off with it's polished. GNOME feels like a really well-made product. It's stable and solid as a rock. Everything in the interface has been planned and well integrated with the rest of the features, and it has never let me down. Desktop crashes are really rare. Its features and extensions also work seamlessly. It uses GTK, which is a very well-thought application design framework, and it shows because all applications and extensions look like they are part of the same system. This is the libadwaita design. It also integrates online accounts fantastically. If you happen to use a Google or Microsoft account for email, storage, and calendar, you could just add those accounts to GNOME and integrate your cloud storage into the file explorer, or have the GNOME calendar show you the same events you configured in your online account. Aside from that, GNOME's defaults feel carefully chosen. I don't spend my first hour disabling pop-ups, rearranging panels, or fixing visual inconsistencies. I install it, log in, and I'm productive almost immediately. It's original. GNOME's workflow is quite unique. It takes ideas from other existing desktops like Windows or macOS, but then deconstructs everything and builds up a new way of interfacing with your computer. GNOME's dock and workspace workflow is quick and precise. You use the super key or the Windows key to open the dash, and you can search for the application you want and open it in the workspace you prefer. You can easily switch between workspaces, rearrange them, and even move applications from one desktop to another just by dragging in the overview. This way of working has really helped me tremendously to manage Windows and different workflows, and it's something that I try to even emulate on Windows when I can. Now, I know KDE Plasma also has workspaces and an overview, but the experience feels less integrated and more configurable than intentional. I can make it behave similarly to GNOME, but it takes time and manual setup. You also need to configure the search bar to work in a similar way to GNOME's, which adds more setup time. GNOME in this sense comes perfect out of the box. One thing I wish they had kept from older GNOME versions is the vertical workspaces. I do prefer the vertical view rather than horizontal, but at least you have an extension for that. Ultimately, what really sold me is that GNOME's workflow disappears once you internalize it. I stop managing Windows and start focusing on tasks. It's beautiful. When it comes to aesthetics, this is truly a matter that depends on the eye of the beholder. But I believe GNOME is the most visually appealing desktop. Its visual language is consistent, pleasant, and unified. It also appeals to modern aesthetic tastes, having round corners, rounded fonts, clear and simple buttons. It's a minimalist's dream. You can be more minimalist than this with things like XFCE, of course, but this is a good compromise with aesthetics. KDE Plasma is also very beautiful and can be set up in many different ways to appeal to all tastes. But I do find that you need a lot of work to achieve that. You also have the downside that appearance options are not entirely consistent, and this really ticks my OCD brain, like having a bigger font for the clock or some widgets just feeling like they don't belong. I spend, quite admittedly, an unhealthy amount of time in front of my computer. I use it for everything: work, studies, leisure, this YouTube channel, writing. And when you spend so much time looking at the same screens, I want it to be appealing. I want it to be pleasurable. I want it to feel good. Maybe I'm just a visually sensitive guy. I like art and beauty in its organic forms. And I believe GNOME really does capture this. I heard from others that they prefer the KDE aesthetics mainly because they resemble more a machine with its sharp corners. But yeah, this is highly subjective. GNOME's strong vision is both its strength and its weaknesses, and when you agree with it, the experience is fantastic. And when you don't, there's very little middle ground. I must say though, for as much as I love GNOME, there are things I wish were different. Things like having the mature HDR and VRR support of KDE Plasma, which is great for gaming visuals. Also, the constant feature development in KDE Plasma is very attractive since they are always trying to push new options for their users, while GNOME is more stuck with making the experience perfect rather than adding more things. The GNOME developers are also known for being more opinionated and doing things their own way, and I wish they were a bit more open to implement features their users want. Finally, GNOME relies heavily on extensions for things many users consider basic features. While extensions are powerful, they can break after updates and require maintenance, which isn't ideal for everyone. Either that, or you use the vanilla GNOME experience, which, needs some getting used to, but it's very usable as well. So, for as many times I try to stick with KDE Plasma, I always miss GNOME and end up back there. As I said at the beginning, it's not that I dislike KDE Plasma, it's just that I know there is something else better for me, and GNOME really ticks all my boxes. Even if it's not perfect, its faults are completely tolerable for me, and I really vibe with it. And I do feel truly connected while using it, and work just flies. At the end of the day, the best desktop isn't the one with the most features, but the one that gets out of your way. You don't choose the desktop. Their desktop chooses you. And for me, that's GNOME. So what's your favorite desktop? Are you a GNOME appreciator or a Plasma enjoyer? I'll read you down below. Now, no matter the desktop you wield, you must always remember that with great power comes great responsibility.